that you heard it from Coach Eric and Africa. That's quite ironic. You'll learn it from them. It was 50 fucking people there. You know why you never heard it from nobody else?
Okay, I'm listening.
Because it was nothing. Understand me. It was absolutely nothing.
All right, so we got ourselves an update on the Richardson Hitchins and Brian Norman Sr. little beef that's going on. So Brian Norman Sr., which I just showed you, has reacted to the accusations that Richardson Hitchins has made, saying that he beat Brian Norman Jr. up back in that 2021 sparring that went down. That it was easy work. That he's on a different level than Brian Norman Jr.
Dominant, were you in this?
The sparring was like he's not on my level. Like he was like he was not on my level. Even though obviously people know I got a lot to say about Devin Haney.
Right.
You feel me? But I really don't think Brian Norman is on that level. And
so before we get into everything that Brian Norman Sr. had to say last night with Richardson Hitchins, keep this in mind, Richardson Hitchins was actually in the chat while Brian Norman Sr. was live last night. So it was getting heated. But let me update you a little bit on what's going on if you don't know. Richardson Hitchins just did an interview with Ring Magazine recently. Ring Magazine asks him what he wants to do next. He says he wants to move up to the 147-pound division and take on the champs there. Mill City shows this interview to Brian Norman Sr. in a different interview and asks him about it. And in this interview, instead of Brian Norman Sr. respecting him and saying, yo, you know what? We would love to take on that fight next. He's a great fighter, this and that. He was like, yo, why is Richardson Hitchins calling us out when he got other people in his divisions like Antoine Russell and other champions in his weight class that he could be fighting rather than trying to take us up here? He's not even a 147-pounder.
I mean, he don't, Matias calling him out. He don't respond to, Richardson Hitchins is not going to respond to nobody to no fight that he can actually make. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you got to look at the people you're dealing with. Richardson Hitchins, you never responded to none of the other guys. He wasn't trying to fight nobody.
All right? And Richardson Hitchins didn't take that wow, as I just showed you. The reason why he started saying that I beat the crap out of his son in that sparring, and he decided to lash out like that, was because of that interview of Brian Norman Sr. disrespecting him. So Richardson Hitchins took it up another level and was like, your son ain't on Devin Haney's level. And I'm going to tell you right now, Devin Haney is going to go in there and beat your son. I was trying to be a nice guy, this and that, but since you want to be talking crap, then I'll be honest with what happened in the sparring.
Dominant, were you in this?
the sparring was like he's not on my level. Like he was not on my level. Even though obviously people know I got a lot to say about Devin Haney.
Right.
You feel me? But I really don't think Brian Norman is on that level. And
so last night, Brian Norman Sr. finally reacts.
That's quite ironic, right? That you heard it from Coach Eric and Africa. That's quite ironic. You'll learn it from them. It was 50 fucking people there. You know why you never heard it from nobody else?
Okay, I'm listening.
Because it was nothing. Understand me. It was absolutely nothing.
He's claiming that Richardson Hitchins is lying, that he's capping, that there was 50 other people at that gym that watched that sparring go down. And what do you guys think? What do you guys think? He says that there would have been other people coming out talking about it, but the reason there wasn't is because that sparring session was absolutely nothing. Nothing happened. Is he capping? Or is he speaking the truth? Brian Norman Sr. All I know is that he starts getting heated because during this interview, Richardson Hitchins joins up.
He's in the chat. He's in the chat.
Well, you heard what I just said, Richardson Hitchins, with your lying ass. Tell the world about that. Why you on here talking about shit that happened in the past? What's up for you next? Gary Antoine Russell was on Mill City talking about you today. Where you at, man? Where you at, player? You want that fight? Say yay. Say yay so I can go back and report back. Say yeah, you scary motherfucker.
The interviewers, 10A Boxing, Jamal Herring and that, he says, hey, we got Richardson Hitchins in the chat. Let's let him join right now. Are you down to, argue with them right here on the live right now? Brian Norman Sr. turns it down. He says, nah, I'm not arguing with them. Hell nah. Nah, I ain't doing that. You know, I got my son's fight coming up. I ain't doing that. But he goes on and starts calling Richardson HITCHINS out and asking, why are you fighting guys like Antoine Russell? He was talking about you yesterday. Why are you fighting guys in your division? Why are you trying to move up and you feel like you earned the opportunity to fight us? Now, in my opinion, I understand what Brian Norman Sr. is saying here. When you look at, you know, Richardson HITCHINS' resume, he already beat Leon Peru, which I like. A guy who beat Sabril Matias. Can't forget about that. All right. And he beat George Kambosos. Even though, in my opinion, George Kambosos was no longer an A fighter, he was a B-level fighter. Back in the days, A-level fighter. Okay? But now, he's a B-level fighter. There's no arguing that. George Kambosos is not in his prime no more. When you look at his resume, if he doesn't fight by this January or February, he would have only fought 3 times in the last 3 years. That's 1 time a year. All right? Now, I know Richardson HITCHINS is a free agent right now, so we don't even know what's going down with him. He says he's waiting. He's looking for the best opportunities. Says he wants this fight next. But I understand the frustration. In my opinion, I believe Richardson HITCHINS is trying to piggyback off that IBF bout that he has and is trying to use it as leverage to get a title shot, possibly, or another big prize fight in another division, rather than unifying any of the bouts in his division. All right? But I don't think Richardson HITCHINS has earned that yet. I still think he needs to at least unify the bout. You know, you don't have that type of momentum like Jerome Boots Ennis did. He could have went up and automatically faced the 154-pound champion instead of doing those tune-ups. He had the momentum. All right? Devin Haney has the momentum and is moving up. Okay? Former undisputed world champion. I feel like Richardson HITCHINS, to me, still hasn't proved it enough that he has the leverage to be able to go up straight to the 147 pounders and get that. And I understand it'll be an exciting fight. I like it still. But I do understand the frustration, and I do want to see Richardson HITCHINS at least try to unify the bout, huh? Before moving up to another weight class. But at the same time, I know everybody's trying to get that money nowadays in the sport of boxing. Not everybody, but mostly everybody. Now, in this interview, he starts to tell Richardson HITCHINS, why is your nickname even Africa? You're absolutely embarrassing, Africa. And he starts calling him names. I don't even want to say it. I don't want to get flagged. He starts saying bad things about Richardson HITCHINS.
What's up, you that gay boy? Ooh, hey, you want to show us that dance? You want to show us your dance, nigga?
Well, this is funny stuff going on. And in my opinion, I don't think Richardson HITCHINS is next for this fight. But I'm excited. You know, we're a couple weeks away. November 22nd. Brian Norman Jr., Fight Hype, just dropped a video of him hitting the mitts. And my goodness, dude, the power is looking ridiculous. And one thing that I've been thinking about is we just seen Devin Haney hit the mitts and was looking absolutely fantastic. This fight is gonna be ridiculous, bro. It's gonna be so insane. I wouldn't be surprised if Richardson HITCHINS is there in the crowd and tries to stir things up. It's countdown week to November 22nd, my friends. Things are starting to heat up.